morning. Hey, this is Jeremy coming at you live once again with Redtired Podcast, and I've got my so faithful co-host here. He's pretty to look at, but he's not so pretty to smell. His name is Jacob Valdez. What's going on, Jacob?
What's going on, man? How's everything going for you today? I love what you did with the YouTube. By the way, listeners, we're on YouTube.
Yeah, well, I've got a lot of requests actually from several people that we need to put our stuff on YouTube, and well, by golly, we did it. And so it takes a little bit more effort on my part as far as editing goes, but it doesn't bother me all that much because what else have I got to do?
Yeah, I'm actually going to bring that up a little bit here in a bit and why it's better to do what you're passionate about, because it doesn't feel like work, really.
It's not really work. Yeah, it's because I mean, I get to stare at my own pretty face, and
now you get to see my ugly mug every day, guys.
Yeah, well, now you know what he looks like, and we can verify he is actually Mexican.
Yeah. They're like on their phone calling ICE. There's this guy I'm watching on YouTube.
Yeah,
he lives somewhere in the DFW area.
Yeah, please do not raid Jacob's house.
Yeah, check his credentials.
Yeah, well, I think that's more common on like the Twitch streamers more than anything. So they call what did they call it? Swatting. So they'd call the SWAT team, and there's this guy
because they're getting pissed off because they're getting killed all the time or whatever on what's that game everyone plays right now?
I don't know. It's CS:GO, Counter-Strike Global Offense. I think that's what it's called. Yeah. I've not played it yet, but it's supposed to be like one of those games where there's like a multiplayer 100. There's like 100 people, and they just drop them in there, and then the last one surviving, that's who wins. That's the name of the game. It's kind of like Monopoly, but with guns.
Yeah. Well, speaking of gaming, Sony PlayStation had their own little streaming service that was kind of combating against, Sling TV, Dish, DirecTV, streaming services and stuff like that. Well, they're shutting down their pioneering online cable alternative, which was called PlayStation Vue, citing the high cost of content and the difficultness of reaching deals with networks. A lot of people are not thinking about this when you start your own streaming service. These networks that you're taking away from real TVs, so their prices are only going to be driving up. Especially now if you're offering, services with no commercials.
So PlayStation Vue, they didn't actually have commercials.
They had certain options.
Okay.
And so I think kind of like Hulu thing too. It was kind of expensive for the consumer.
Okay, so I don't have a PlayStation 4. I think they launched this and it was compatible with the PlayStation 3, which my kids have in their bedroom, but really, who plays PlayStation in 2019?
I do still.
I know, you loser. No, I'm just kidding. Well, I'm just messing.
These services were initially heralded as the future TV as cable cutters ramped up during that time when they, officially announced. I think it was about 2 years ago. They offered popular TV networks for less than what you pay for any cable company. Signing up and canceling were easy. There was no like, you sign up, you have it for a year. It was kind of like Netflix. If you wanted to watch it for a month and shut it off, But customer growth was slow and even dropped for many of these services as prices actually rose. PlayStation Vue was just rising, just like Netflix. I hope you're listening, Netflix. So that being said, they just dropped all the way down to 700,000 subscribers. So starting January, you have 700,000 subscribers up for grabs now.
Okay, so there's a large problem here. Okay. I'm not totally familiar with the PlayStation Vue service, but I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there and say most likely they limited their capacity to expand because it was limited to PlayStation only, right? There was no, you had to have the PlayStation to actually take part in this service.
Yep.
You couldn't download an app on, say, your Roku, or you couldn't use an app on your Apple TV or something like that. You specifically had to have the PlayStation. So you've limited your entire market.
The industry's latest hope it was pretty much their hope for being the next AT&T Watch TV and stuff like that, but they just couldn't hang on, especially with the prices rising because the network deals were pretty much working out for them. Now, this pretty much lets 700,000 subscribers. I'm kind of curious in what direction they're going to go to now, because, you know, we're just around the corner for Disney. Apple, I think, is on 2 days from now. So with the increasing competition for people's dollars from all these services, will put more pressure for any online cable services now, like, you know, your Sling TV, and I think, doesn't Amazon Roku have something like that too as well? If I'm not,
Roku has their own channel, but they've also got, obviously you have the Roku itself. Some of the smart TVs are coming pre-installed with Rokus, so you can just use them right out of the box. Another thing you can do is you can go buy the Roku, but the Roku actually has its own channel. So what it'll do is it'll find content for you, and the content is actually free content that they can find. Now it's ad supported, but it's still stuff that you can watch for free, right?
Yeah. Yep. So my hat's off to you, PlayStation. Thank you for playing. Insert another 25 cents to try again.
So Netflix, you mentioned, excuse me, you mentioned Netflix here a little bit there. I wanted to bring up one real quick point on that. Netflix, it might be time for you to start diversifying a little bit more, because with like these big dogs like Hulu and Disney and Apple coming into the streaming service, what do you have to fall back on? I don't know how this is going to work out specifically, but my assumption, I'm just going to say it like this, I think at some point somebody's going to buy Netflix up.
Oh yeah, and it's going to be between Disney and Apple, and maybe even Amazon.
And I'm sure they've got the capital to do it.
Oh yeah, I think you just go straight up to Netflix. I'll pay off your debts. Give me your crap.
Yeah. Now somebody's going to catch a payout, I'm sure.
Yeah. So what else is happening in the world? Speaking of buying and selling, there's something I heard about Twitter.
All right, so here's a couple of things we're going to talk about today. Now that we got that PlayStation View out of the way, I've got 3 things. 1, CNBC reports that someone could buy Twitter at its current share price. An Elizabeth Warren presidency may not be as bad for stocks as some investors fear. Right. This is CNBC again. But okay, listen, I'm going to pick on CNBC a lot because they're saying some dumb stuff. All right. And then the third thing, Senator Richard Burr wants to take money from college athletes. Scumbag. So let's go into the Twitter thing first, because, well, we want to get the least important stuff out
of
the way.
If NCAA cannot be their slave owners, I can.
Yeah, that's exactly where we're going right now, I think. And this is I don't want to get into that one too much just yet, but I think that's a golden opportunity for Democrats to actually stand up and gain some people back in the polls. Imagine a world where Democrats come out and they say, you know what? Maybe it's not such a good idea to tax these college kids, because they're freaking college kids and they've already got enough of a burden. We just talked about this yesterday, the burden of being a college kid and having to work through college. What kind of a world? You know what? Let's talk about this one right now. We're going to skip around. Screw it. That's the Redtired way. We do what we want to do. All right. So Senator Richard Burr, there was a tweet that was put out, and it came from the Associated Press. Breaking: NCAA will permit athletes to be compensated for their names, images, and likeness, the Board of Governors says. Right? There's a link to the news article and everything. Kid you not. 1 hour and 2 minutes later, Senator Richard Burr, a quote-unquote Republican, came out and said, if college athletes are going to make money off of their likenesses while in school, their scholarships should be treated like income. I'll be introducing legislation that subjects scholarships given to athletes who choose to cash in to income tax.
You know, that tells me someone in NCAA reached out to him.
That may be. That very well may be.
They probably have something on him and like, hey, if you don't push this agenda.
Either that or he's just an actual scumbag
like
politician.
Face of cards kind of stuff going on right now behind the scenes.
I don't know. So let's read this. So Senator Richard Burr, Republican of North Carolina. Hey, Mike, North Carolina, do something about that. On Tuesday said that he would introduce legislation to tax scholarships for college athletes who profit off of their names and likenesses in response to the NCAA's vote to reverse course on its long-held policy of prohibiting athletes from earning income. If college athletes are going to make money off of their likenesses while in school, their scholarships should be treated like income. And I just read this to you. This is right out of the tweet. I'll be introducing legislation that subjects the scholarships given to athletes who choose to cash in to income taxes, blah, blah, blah. Burr tweeted this, and Burr, he serves as the chairman on the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. Okay, there's an oxymoron for you right there. Increasing taxes and intelligence. They don't go hand in hand.
Nope.
Jackass. All right.
Stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane, dude. You don't belong in this one. The NCAA Board of Governors unanimously voted Tuesday to permit student athletes to benefit from the use of their name, image, and likeness in a manner consistent with the collegiate model, the organization said in their Twitter statement. The group directed its 3 athletic divisions to update their bylaws and policies to reflect the change, said Michael V. Drake, chair of the board and president of Ohio State University. We must embrace change to provide the best possible experience for our college athletes, Drake said. Additionally, flexibility in this area and must continue to support college sports as a part of higher education. This modernization for the future is a natural extension of the numerous steps the NCAA members have taken in recent years to improve support for student athletes, including full cost attendance and guaranteed scholarships. The NCAA didn't give specifics about how it would oversee efforts by college athletes to earn compensation. Wow. Okay, the NCAA is doing something good here. I wholeheartedly agree with this. I think that they should allow this to happen because, I mean, the cost of college is astronomical.
They've been robbing them for years, dude.
Yeah, they're getting screwed over. These guys, I mean, what's the actual possibility of somebody getting into a professional sport going directly from college to, say, the NFL? It's like 1.3%.
Yeah, it's not even that high.
Yeah, it's a super low number. The actual possibility of this happening is it's minimal. So we've got these kids, they're working their way through college. Granted, they're working in different forms. They're working through their sports, but they've earned that position. They've earned the money that's coming to them through that sport because of hard work and determination. Why now are we trying to take away through taxation something that they could potentially make money on? And here's the beauty of this. The beauty, maybe that's not the appropriate word. I don't know what you think. But the issue that I take with this is it took this stupid jerk. I'm trying to censor myself a little bit here. It took this stupid jerk less than an hour, or just a little over an hour, to say that we need to tax these kids because now they're earning money. What? Wait a minute. Let's take this in the opposite direction. Right, so these college kids are finally getting a chance to pay for their education. So what is this? This jackass, he goes out and, we need to get this tax money, right? Comes in, starts demanding that they pay taxes on this. So this guy's, again, I've said this guy's not a Republican in my estimation. All right, they're college kids. If anything, you should be incentivizing the college kids so you can, incentivize them and remove the taxes while they're in college. Get rid of the income tax while they're in college so they can actually work their way through it instead of burdening them even more so that they don't end up like a little Missy Priss that we talked about yesterday, where she's complaining about working 40 hours a week as a barista.
And honestly, they still have to, it's crazy. If you look at the numbers, I have a buddy of mine that played college professional. Now he's in the Canadian League. I'm not going to leak out his names. I really don't want to get him in trouble. But he was telling me that, there was a point, if he didn't have rich parents, because his parents were professional athletes, and, he was like, dude, I would have had to put student loans out still when he played in college ball, and he had a full ride, but he thought he still had to pull college loans to pay off, pay the little things that, unfortunately scholarships just don't cover sometimes.
It's a damn shame. The price of college is, and here's the funny thing is we're always talking about investments and whatnot. And you look at the price of college versus the return.
Mm-hmm.
The returns just aren't there anymore.
Yep.
And that's what happens when you flood a marketplace. We were told, again, like we said yesterday, we were told that in order to get a good job and be successful in this world, you have to go to college. You got to go to school. You got to get a good job. You got to get good benefits. Nobody's taking risks and trying something different. Now the market is saturated full of these kids who have college degrees and all these different worlds. And yeah, I mean something. I'm important to something because my ethics professor liked one of my papers. Shut up. You're saturating the market. There's some great kids that come out of college. They come out very intelligent, very well read, very understanding. They see the world for what it is and know that they have to take risks if they want to be successful. But these kids that come out with this entitlement sense, the Elizabeth Warren base, if you will, they have this idea in their head that everything is just guaranteed to them because they jumped through some hoops and it was difficult for a time. Look, life is difficult. Everything you're going to deal with in life is going to be tough. It doesn't stop. So you might as well get used to it. So let's move away from the NCAA and this garbage politician. Let's talk about Twitter. Just puts a sour taste in my mouth. I hate Twitter so much. Jim Cramer from CNBC believes that a firm could try to buy Twitter. Twitter stock has lost almost all of its 2019 gains, and CNBC's Jim Cramer says that the current share price will, quote, prove to be a gift in the long term. After climbing above $45 in early September, the stock price has tumbled under $30, with 23% of those losses coming since its disappointed third quarter earnings report on Thursday. The last time this stock had a major meltdown, it found a floor support of $27 to $28, which is one more reason to start buying right there at the $29 and change area, Cramer said Tuesday on his Mad Money show. Cramer also recalled that many companies, including Salesforce, missed a chance to purchase Twitter in 2016 when the stock traded just below $20. Twitter cited platform bugs and advertising woes as a revenue shortfall, prompting numerous analysts covering the social media company to cut forecasts and some to downgrade stocks. The social site grew its monetizable daily active users by 4% from the prior quarter to 145 million, but the company had trouble in targeting and selling ads. The issues could stretch into 2020, Twitter warned. While Twitter's plan to address this ad issues aren't clear, Cramer expressed faith in the company that will find a solution. After a big decline, the Mad Money host said the stock is too cheap to sell here, but low enough to start a position, calling the current problems temporary setbacks. Okay, so first of all, Jim Cramer from CNBC believes that somebody could potentially purchase Twitter. Brilliant. Freaking genius. Have you ever been on Twitter?
I'll buy it and shut it down.
You'd be doing the world a favor. It's a cesspool. It's disgusting. There's nothing. I mean, the majority of people that get on Twitter, all they do is they sit there and they call each other names. They call each other idiots. And actually what's really funny is Twitter is actually there's a lot more left wingers than there are right wingers on Twitter. So it's like this giant echo chamber. It's kind of like going to California and hearing everybody talk about how great Democrats are. That's all Twitter is. And
it just became a platform of trolling.
It is. Yeah. That's it. In fact, I made a meme about it a couple of months back and I called it Troller instead of Twitter. So Twitter in my estimation, and I'll ask you what you think of this. Twitter's kind of like if you took the absolute worst parts of Facebook and jammed them together into one relatively pointless social media platform.
With a character restriction,
yeah, but you have to send out multiple tweets in order just to get your point across. You can't hold an intellectual conversation on Twitter. The best thing you can do on Twitter is maybe post a link to something, which it's not far removed, actually. I'm going to drift off a bit here again. It's not far removed from Instagram. It's kind of the same thing. Instagram is real. It's just pictures, right?
Yeah.
I have an Instagram account, and it's like the most boring thing in the world. I've gone through, and one of our buddies, Bill, he sends me stuff from time to time on Instagram, and I'm just like, can't see it because I don't follow this certain page. So that was fun.
So Jim Cramer didn't go crazy and like smash coffee cups with his baseball bat, or out.
He may have. I don't honestly know. I wouldn't watch his show because I'm going to talk about this. His track record sucks. So there are, okay, so let's look at some of the upsides of Twitter first, okay? Because we can't just be totally negative. We have access to some huge people, such as congressmen, and you got President Trump on there, and he's always tweeting, so we always kind of have an idea for what's going on. But again, there's that downside where the good majority of the voices that are chiming in, they're either ill-informed or just plain stupid a lot of the times. Mm-hmm. And it's just that big cesspool of ignorance. So that being said, let's talk about the stock, because it reflects the cesspool scenario. I believe that the reason that the stock is going down is people just don't see value in the company. So Cramer's little bold assessment that he comes up with here is somebody could buy Twitter. I mean, that's like saying, hey, somebody could go to Walmart today and buy a pair of Wranglers. Duh. Yeah, somebody could.
They sell clothes.
They do. They sell. I could go buy a gallon of milk today. I'm going to publish that in the media. Hey, CNN, guess what? I might buy milk today.
The cow.
Yeah, I don't know how this is cited. I don't know how this is news, and I get it. We've been picking on CNBC a lot here the last couple of days. It's not going to stop as long as they keep putting crap.
If they ever stop being stupid, maybe we'll stop.
Well, my money's on not going to happen. So here's the thing about Jim Cramer. I went and dug around a little bit, and I looked into his history. I wanted to see, let's see how good this guy really is, right? So I went over and I found a source on MarketWatch, and that'll be down in the description below. Mike, you're welcome. And now MarketWatch, I trust them a whole hell of a lot more than I do CNBC, and I don't trust MarketWatch all that much, but I'm going to throw this out there anyways. Jim Cramer's track record isn't all that impressive. So in other words, an article from the 2016 MarketWatch report, Cramer's Action Alert Plus portfolio has underperformed the S&P 500 index. Do you know how much you have to suck to underperform the S&P?
Yeah, it's pretty much a given in making money.
Yeah, if you want to make money, over the long term, you want a long game, long investment, put your money into the S&P. You can't lose. It just keeps going up. Sorry, were you going to say something?
No, I just said you just put your money S&P and then just sit.
Yeah. So I've included a chart in our little folder, in our little file. I've included a chart in our little file here so that you can follow along with me. All right. The red line, I don't know if you can see the chart right now, but that red line, that's Jim Cramer's Action Alert Plus portfolio. As you can see, it follows along pretty good with the S&P 500 without reinvesting dividends. Now, if you're not reinvesting your dividends, you are a fool.
You're an idiot.
That's a different argument altogether. Unless you're retired, you should be reinvesting all of your dividends. So Jim Cramer's little Action Alerts Plus portfolio, it failed to outperform the S&P over the timeline from 2001 to 2015. Granted, most of the time it mirrored it, and sometimes it was even ahead of it. But just put your money in the S&P, you'll be fine. All right. So the idea that I come up with here is, why does CNBC put so much faith into this guy Jim Cramer? Is it because of is it his personality alone? Because he's kind of a fireball, isn't he?
Yeah, he just screams.
Oh, he screams.
No, he just yells, and he's just. I not a fireball. I would say a firecracker. He just gets excited and, tries to make the market look exciting. I think he's like the visual content of the market.
It's not all that exciting.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I got introduced to him because he does little. I think he was in Marvel for a quick second. They put him in there when they're talking about Stark Enterprises. But I got hospitalized with that pancreatitis, and the only damn channel, because I couldn't find the damn remote, was CNBC, and he was on there, and I was forced to watch it for like a few seconds until I found out the nurse button was. I was like, turn this crap off. I don't want to watch it. But I was like, man, who is this guy? So, anyways,
this crazy guy, he's annoying. He sucks.
Again, here it is. If you are a person who is a day trader, or you're retired or whatever, don't rely on anyone's word. Do your own research. It should be no issue and reason why you should not be making money in today's market.
It takes a little bit of risk. You got to put some money somewhere and let it grow. And, if you're a day trader, you already know this stuff. You're not following Jim Cramer if you're a day trader because you're smarter than that.
Mm-hmm.
The point here is CNBC is constructing this lazy reporting, and it's telling people somebody could potentially purchase Twitter. Why is that news? That's not news. I mean, it's a best guess kind of scenario. Like somebody could purchase Twitter. Of course, somebody could.
I can go up to Twitter and be like, I'll give you my pair of shoes without the laces for Twitter.
Shoes are probably worth more in my
Start haggling them. Okay, I'll add the socks in.
They're good socks.
Yeah, they're smart wool.
So the point here, CNBC, look, we get it. Somebody could possibly buy Twitter. That's very true. You know what else could happen today? Somebody could land on the moon again. I could choose to put shoes on today, Jacob.
What?
I know. Hey, breakfast could be served to me by a Swedish maid named Helga. It could happen.
Basically, what you're getting at, and the bottom line of this is just they're being lazy on their reporting now.
Oh yeah. CNBC, they seriously, they need to step up their game. And look, journalists everywhere, you guys need to take note on all this stuff. Saying something that could potentially happen is just intellectually lazy. It's intellectually lazy reporting, and I'm surprised that your customers are even paying attention to you, because they need
get
to
them on those
consider
colorful
these kinds
titles.
of things. When you consume some kind of good or service, you need to make an informed and educated decision. Quit looking at the U's and the ahs, right? The colorful titles, as you said.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's straight up clickbait.
It is. It's all clickbait.
To read my crappy story over here.
Yeah. I certainly wouldn't want my plumber or my electrician to be as lazy as these journalists. So good job, CNBC. And oh, by the way, we're not done picking on CNBC yet. An Elizabeth Warren presidency may not be as bad for stocks as some investors fear, a Jefferies strategist suggests.
What idiot would not? Seriously?
Yeah, seriously. They're like, somebody really reported this, and it really came from CNBC. So they're not off the hook. And they dropped this dud of a bombshell last night about 11:44 p.m. And here's
no one's awake. Only those few people that read.
Yep.
That late at night.
Nobody's awake. Even Warren Buffett's probably asleep at this point. I'll summarize it real quick, and then we'll go through the article. All right. The summation of it says, in our industry, there are general perceptions that it would be a significant equity market correction if Elizabeth Warren were to win, says David Zervos. I hope I'm pronouncing your name wrong because you sound stupid. Chief market strategist at Jefferies. But people forget that she's not that different from Obama. If you put the two of them side by side in 2007, they had very similar agendas. Healthcare, regulation, and financial.
Stop. Regulations alone would just destroy the market.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it would. healthcare, regulation, and financial and energy and environment, he told CNBC Squawk Box. Under Barack Obama, the stock market soared, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average jumping by more than 140% at the time that his term ended. Okay, first off, regulation. To your point.
No, one thing that really amazes me, right, is that regulation slows down any economic progress. You can't even build a damn building like past 10 stories, like, without going through so much loops and holes and just everything, just to, you're going to spend $1 million in just application forms alone just to build your business, just the foundation of a building to be like, oh, I want my business to be here. Mm-hmm. So regulation alone is just going to hurt the economy to the point I'm not going to do anything anymore. I'm like, my business is not going to be as big as that I want. That means I'm not going to hire any employees, and I'm going to just be minimalized as much as possible. Obama was not great for SBAs, small business.
No, he was terrible.
They were horrible. Let's put it this way. Look, the Empire State Building took 1 year to build. From March of 1930 is when the construction was started, and it was finished on April 11th in 1931.
Try doing that today in 2019.
Dude, it'll take you that long just to get through regulation.
You got ground. 5 years worth of permits alone.
Yep.
Good God.
So I always use that as an example, and that actually Trump said this in one of his speeches when he was campaigning as presidency. And that was a real strike into the Democratic core. Is like, what's up with regulation? What's going on here? He even brought up the Empire State Building. It took a year to build this beautiful building in New York City, which at that time was iconic, like, oh crap, business was booming. And now if you want to build anything in New York or even here in Texas, man, you have to, for us being a red state, we still have to govern by federal regulations. And as of right now, there's a lot. And I give it to Trump trying to get rid of as much as possible. But, man, it's just ridiculous. And Elizabeth Warren already in her running campaign, that's all she talks about.
There's an upside. So with when it comes to regulation, especially at the state level, California has been really good for the Texas economy.
Yeah, they're almost up in flames right now, but yeah, you're right.
Oh, they literally are up in flames.
You're correct. Yeah, no, you're correct. And I'm glad, I live in Texas, we both do, and we're benefiting from a lot of blue states' mistakes and and their regulations, their taxes. And man, what idiot would think that, and at this strategy firm, that they think that this woman is good for the economy. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a sexist, I'm not against women. I will vote for a woman who has the same aligned beliefs as I do. But until that day comes, unfortunately, Elizabeth Warren is not one of them.
Well, she's been very weak. I mean, she tries to put out this tough persona, but when you've got such a, I don't even know if feminine is the right word, because she's got such a frail, fragile, weak voice, and the way that she, like, when she stands on the debate stage, right, and she's standing next to like Joe Biden, who, like, Joe Biden's probably like 6'2". He's a fairly tall guy, even for an 80-year-old. He stands up straight and he's very tall. And then you've got this little 5'0" Elizabeth Warren standing right next to him, and he dwarfs her. She dwarfs him big time. And it's like, there's a psychological element that goes in with all of this. And that's why, Joe Biden has been kind of a front runner for as much as he has, is because he's got this certain stature above many of the others, and he's got the VP. So there's that experience side of it. And people are familiar with Joe Biden. They know he's not going to, or at least they think he's not going to crash the car.
No, yeah. And to be honest, when I look at her And I just saw this in your notes. I'm glad you wrote this in there. But when I look at her, she just doesn't give me this likable persona of, I just, even if I was the left, she will not be a candidate that I'd be like, you know what, I think she seems like a cool chick. I'm gonna go vote for her. Kind of like, because that's what Obama did. He had that, he tried his best to be everyone's best friend. He went that route. I'm that guy. I want to be your neighbor kind of attitude.
Yeah. And Obama was actually very likable, despite the fact that I didn't really care for a lot of his policies. I wasn't ashamed to say, Barack Obama's my president. It didn't, it wasn't like I wasn't out on the streets of Washington on election day screaming no at the top of my lungs. It was like, okay, I can deal with this. This guy seems okay. Now, so let's dive a little bit deeper into this, because one of the biggest things that we got to address CNBC dropping the ball on is Elizabeth Warren is very different from Barack Obama. Dare I say it, she's weaker. Obama didn't pander the way that she's been pandering, and most Democrats have been pandering like crazy. And you didn't see Obama doing that. He held a firm stance and he said, yes, we can. This is what we believe, and we're going to move forward together and hope and change. He did all that. He was all for moving forward and moving up. And, Elizabeth Warren is coming out with some crazy stuff and pandering to like the LGBT community, which is still vast minority of the American public. Talking about crazy stuff. I don't even think this was her specifically, but one of the Democrats was talking about trans women should be able to get abortions too. You can't get pregnant. Have we lost our minds? So let's go. All right. So again, I'm really getting sidetracked here. I wish you were here to smack me around when I get so sidetracked on this stuff. Obama didn't pander, right? He was elected because he was likable and he was believable. And it didn't hurt that he ran against two of the absolute weakest Republicans in history, freaking Mitt Romney and John McCain. Okay. That was like a no-brainer. Like, they're both jackasses in their own right. And I'm not trying to bash the dead. Rest in peace, John McCain, but you were a political jackass. Secondly, Obama did not send the stock market skyrocketing. In fact, he was elected because we have to look at history. Okay. This is our only indicator for where we're going, is where we've been. Now, you can go back and look at the history and say, oh, yeah, well, under Obama, yeah, the stock market went from way down here to like way up there, right? But then you're leaving out a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, like, say, the market crash of 2008.
Yeah, the greatest recession in history.
Yeah.
Besides the depression that we had. But yeah, no, you're right. Pretty much the whole not just the housing market, it was everything. The whole bubble just popped, and that was it.
The housing market brought the entire market to its knees. It did. It crashed, and it crashed hard. Now, it was a great time to be a buyer if you weren't invested in the stock market at the time. But if you were like me, I was just getting out of the Army. I didn't have any money to put into the stock market, so the economic crash didn't even affect me. I was just like, man, I'm here.
Yeah, we can even go further back and blame it on the Dems and why you get people with bad credit at home.
Yeah, subprime loan, subprime lending.
That was Clinton's doing right there.
Yes, it was. And so if you want to be consistent on these things, and I'll get into that in a minute.
I want a house where my credit score is 230.
That's not fair. I need a house. I need help. Help me, government. Help.
I have 33 credit cards that are behind payment, but I want a house.
I don't pay my bills, but give me a house. Give me. So the day that Obama took over the market, the market was already in the toilet. So, and now, of course, subprime legislation, and we all know it's one of the stupidest things that was ever enacted by the Fed. So the subprime lending opened up a lot of bad mortgages for underqualified people, in case you don't know. Many who eventually defaulted on their loans and collectively sent the market into a tailspin. So CNBC forgot to factor that in when they said that Obama sent the market soaring. He didn't. That was a recovery. Obama took over when the market was down. And I left a chart in there below for you, Jacob, and there will be probably a link somewhere. I don't know Mike, you'll find it. So when Obama took over, the market being down. So if you look at this chart, this chart, and I know that a lot of people can't see this, but I like charts, right? This chart is from the 2000. This chart is from 2000 all the way through 2019, right? It shows on the chart, right, where Bush took over and there was a huge downpour in the market, and then recovery, and then the crash, and then Obama took over. So when Obama took over, the market was near its lowest point in 2008 and 2009. It went a little bit deeper after he took over, but then began to recover. Now, you've got all these different lines on there, and I'm sure if you don't know how to read a chart, it can be confusing. But essentially, when these three little lines that follow the candlestick on the chart start moving in an upward direction, that means that you have upward momentum. That upward momentum is a sign of recovery. It is not sending the stock market soaring because of your policies. Can't believe I have to explain this to people. So if we're going to play the whole Obama card where, oh yeah, well, Barack Obama was elected and so the market recovered, then we have to do the same thing, and we have to be consistent across the board, and we have to say, well, Clinton signed subprime lending into law. So then we have to blame Clinton for the subprime lending, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to be consistent.
Yeah, and you know what? You could blame both Bush and Clinton. Bush for overlooking this and not stopping it. But I do give him the excuse that, yes, we were at the war of terrorism. It kind of got dwarfed, on the global war on terrorism campaign. So, priorities, but still, that's why he should have picked good cabinet members to find it and see that this was happening.
Yep, I agree. And the global war on terror was probably one of the biggest factors as to why we were dealing with all the market ferocity that was going on in the first place. Mm-hmm. It's not Bush alone, okay? It's not Obama alone. This market is not Trump alone. You cannot pin the market on one factor alone. There are multiple factors. And if you're just going to say, oh, look at the market under Obama, he did better, that's stupid. That's an ignorant argument. All right. So the article, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're right. It's a collective of business owners making stupid decisions too, as well.
Absolutely is. And the market is actually a reflection of the faith in those businesses as told by investors. See, we're the investors. We decide the market. The president does not. Mm-hmm. So when we put a businessman in office, the majority of us decided that was a good thing. And that's what drove the market up. I can't believe this. People have to actually have this stuff explained to them. But I hope that somebody's learning something from this. All right. So moving forward, the article states, an Elizabeth Warren presidency would likely be tough on some sectors, but it might not hit stock markets as hard as feared, a Jefferies strategist suggested Wednesday. Warren, a Democratic presidential 2020 frontrunner, has bashed the rich, proposing a wealth tax. Hey, we talked about that 2 podcasts ago as well. And lambasted the financial industry, among other sectors, as the Massachusetts senator climbs in Democratic presidential polls. A growing pool of investors warned that her win would result in major losses for the U.S. stock market. So what does that tell you right there? A group of investors, which is what I just said, is what's deciding whether the market is going to go up or down. And a group of investors does not have the confidence in Elizabeth Warren to sustain a market going up. Will put you into bearish territory.
To be honest with you, and this is what I would do. Worst case scenario, Dems win the House for the 2020 election, right?
Right.
I would literally, as an investor, because I just wouldn't feel confident in any of those candidates, that I will pull my money out of the market, which, again, at me as an investor, I might not make a huge difference in the market, But if you have people like me times 100,000, 200,000, 500,000 people in our country doing the exact same thing, that's how the market gets affected, and that's how, you know, money starts going down, and that's how everything just starts moving down, because people don't have faith into, again, to her policies, when especially when it comes to regulations and taxing the wealth. You know, if you tax me if I was a wealthy business owner and I ran Bank of America and you're taxing me, I'm going to let go people to make up some of that cost.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say people, I'm not talking 1, 2, 10, 50. No, I'm talking thousands of employees.
You're right. It's action and reaction, right? Now, my strategy would be different than yours. I would move all of my money into the S&P and just leave it where it's safe, because the S&P is typically safe, and just ride it out, because Elizabeth Warren wouldn't be president for more than 8 years unless there's some kind of weird martial law thing that goes into effect, which, come on, she's so passive, it most likely wouldn't even happen. But I would leave my money in the S&P and just let it grow and just leave it alone, because traditionally it returns 8.5%, 9%, somewhere in there. And that's over its period of track records with Democrats and Republicans. So me personally, I'm not going to take my money out. I'm just going to move it. Mm-hmm. Anyway, going back to the article, in our industry, there's a general perception that it would be a significant equity market correction if she were to win, said David Zervos, the guy I probably screwed his name up earlier, a chief strategist at Jefferies. She would change returns on capital expectations, earning expectations, regulations would go up, taxes would go up, all of these things. Now, bear in mind, we just explained the wealth tax on another podcast, and how the wealth tax would actually hurt the economy. So we can't ignore the fact that the rich, they're going to shelter their money from taxation. It's what we do. Action, reaction. Okay. So you got those regulations that we were just talking about earlier. So what's the action? Regulations are put in place. The reaction, more businesses are moving out of California and heading towards Texas and other states that have lower regulations. Makes it easier to start a business because it boosts the economy. This is not rocket science. Read a Thomas Sowell book, people. All right. Anyone who values the fruits of their labor, they're going to be smart enough to protect their money from the greed of the feds. The article continues. His comments after the billionaire Paul Tudor Jones on Monday predicted that the S&P 500 would sink about 25% if Warren beats current U.S. President Donald Trump at the 2020 ballot. But Zervo suggested that the impact on the stock market may be more tempered. But, quoting him, but people forget that she's not that different from Obama. And if you put the two of them side by side, they have very similar agendas: healthcare regulation, financial and energy and environment from 2009 going forward, as we read in the summation. When Obama took office, we never looked back. The stock market just rallied, he told CNBC's Squawk Box. Again, the market did not rally. It recovered. That's what it does when it crashes. It recovers. That's not a rally. It's a recovery. If you don't know how to read the chart, you don't understand the difference. I don't know how to help you. You got to learn how to read the charts, and you got to understand history in order to be able to understand what really happened from point A to point B. This is not a cause of Barack Obama. This is a cause of the crash, therefore recovery. Because the market always recovers. You just got to ride out the roller coaster. So, again, I think it's intellectually lazy that Obama, to suggest that Obama had anything to do with this market recovering. And so I'd also suggest that the current market's at new highs, not because of Trump, but because of policies put in place that boost the economy, that boost businesses. Now that Chinese tariffs, you can argue they're certainly not helping, because we've seen dips in the market because of that. But I'm going to move on. Under Barack Obama, who was a U.S. president between 2009 and 2017, the stock market soared. The Dow Jones Industrial Average jumped more than 140% by the time his term ended, and that was the third best stock market performance since World War II for any president. Obama was known for the signature health care law, more commonly known as Obamacare, which significantly expanded health coverage by mandating that everyone gets health insurance or pay a tax penalty. Here we go. Okay, so Warren wants everybody to have health insurance, right? Are we going to go back down this path again? Let's talk about the cost of health insurance. The market, okay, let's move past the market. We're done talking about the market. Obama didn't recover the market. We get it, right? Okay, so as for enacting the health coverage mandate, how expensive is it for you to visit your doctor now?
Yeah.
How much do you pay out of pocket before your coverage kicks in annually? And by the way, I've got a chart for that right down there, and there's a link in the description, Mike. All right. So since 2008, your general annual deductibles for covered workers have increased 8 times as fast as wages. So in 2008, from 2008 to 2018, it increased 212% for your deductibles. Your earnings has increased only 26%, and the overall inflation has increased 17%, making your dollar much weaker and your deductibles much, much higher. I talk to people who have these deductibles who are like, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna start doing everything at my doctor's now because I finally met my deductible for the year. We're talking about like $5,000 out of pocket, and you're still paying for insurance because of the mandate. Hello, your healthcare coverage just skyrocketed. Now, granted, if you're somebody who has to deal with like cancer or something like that, yes, the treatments can be very, very expensive, and then in that case, you'll be glad that you have the health coverage. But how many people does that really happen to?
Yep.
Take it on a per capita basis. How many people actually die from cancer per capita?
Oh, but Jeremy, if the government took over the healthcare and it'll be free, it'll be better.
Yeah, about that. Free. There's no such thing as free. The money comes from somewhere, and we all know this.
Yep.
It's going to come from your pocket. You're going to pay for it. Not me. It ain't going to be my problem because, I know how to shelter my taxes.
Oh yeah, dude. And and people are like, well, I do my own taxes on TurboTax and H&R Block. I'm like, no, they don't teach you everything.
Yeah, it's fine if you're doing like a standard deduction kind of thing, but when you actually go into business and start doing things on your own, you really want a professional who knows what the hell they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
They'll help you protect your money in ways that you never even thought possible, reduce your tax bill, and get the government out of your damn business. I'm looking at you, NCAA guys.
Yeah. So here's a question I have for you then after this discussion is that, do you honestly think that we should rate a president on the economy during their time? Because that's basically what they're justifying is like, oh, vote for this guy or vote on this side, right or left, because the economy was great during this time. I think that's kind of unfair because it's not totally based on, what that individual is doing. It's not, oh, I'm Jacob Valdez here. I'm president of the United States. And it's because of me, the economy is doing great because, I said so kind of thing.
I think that it's a very weak position to stand on, and I don't like Trump saying that the market is doing great because of him, because it's not solely because of him. He can't take all the credit for the market. He can take some. He certainly deserves some, and just like I won't take away from Obama the fact that the market did recover under his presidency, I have to give him some credit because I got to be consistent about my perspective on this. The president does have an effect to a degree. But Obama's was kind of like just an uphill climb, very boring, very slow. Whereas Trump's stock market has kind of been a wild ride. And it's still testing highs. People are still confident in this marketplace. And I think my estimation, and I'm no Jim Cramer here, my estimation is in the event that that Trump pulls through on the China tariffs taxation BS, we're going to come into a place where the market's going to shoot sky high once the tariffs are settled. It's gonna be a catalyst like no other that you've ever seen before. And yeah, the market has been held back. It certainly has. But when you look at market analysis and you look at things in terms of the growth, when you invest, you're investing for a long term. If you're not, then you're trading. You're not investing. There's two different types. There's two different ways to invest. And a regular trader, a day trader, they're not investing long term. They're putting their money in, they're gaining, and then they're taking it out. Those of us who put our money in long term for different financial reasons, different planning, we're looking at the long term here. We're not looking at the short term volatility of the market. We're saying we have faith that in the end, this thing is going to be good. It sucks right now, but it's going to be good. That's my take.
Yay, Jeremy.
Yay, Jeremy. Okay. Listen, you can say whatever you want about Elizabeth Warren. I just don't see it. I don't see an Elizabeth Warren presidency happening, just like I didn't see a Hillary Clinton presidency happening. And I could be way off base here. There could be a bunch of meatheads that turn out that don't understand what the hell they're voting for. And they say, yeah, I think that it would be a great idea for the government to pick up my health care. It wouldn't.
Yeah.
And Republicans are just as guilty as Democrats are when it comes to this kind of stuff, because they're not doing anything to reduce the budget either. So take it for what it's worth.
I will, Jeremy. I will.
So Elizabeth Warren, I'm looking at, I'm just seeing you as nothing more than a nuance. Now, enough with all the political BS. We have something that we wanted to end on, and it's going to be a high note.
Oh, yeah.
Did you like forgot, that? Didn't you?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? I didn't. All right. So not too terribly long ago, there was a video. This mother happened to be recording her son. And I believe the kid is 6 years old? Yeah, six years old, if this is correct. And the kid was telling his mom some stuff, and this stuff turned out to be pretty motivational stuff. And we want to end on that. So Take a listen to this clip.
Off of that guy that he said he couldn't fly a helicopter in Jumanji. Just because, Mom,
no, this is not a movie. He could do it.
If he could do it.
This isn't a movie.
He believed in himself. And you can too.
Oh man, you're going to put it on me like that?
You can do anything that you want. You can get singing lessons, get a better job, make more money. You can be like rich. You could live in the White House someday. You could be president.
Me?
Do what you want to do. It's not about it's not up to other people.
It's true.
It's up to you.
It's true. I love you.
So Jacob, send us off.
That was amazing. How's this kid know the secrets of life?
Well, I think kids are smarter than us.
Yeah.
I really do. I honestly do. I think there's something that happens from, I don't know, about the age of 11, 12, 13, when all the hormones are introduced to the bloodstream, to about the age of 25, when the prefrontal cortex is actually developed. I think there's a gap in there in wisdom. And these kids they're like sponges. They're super absorbent. They pick up things real easy, real quick. They understand that obstacles are just that. They're obstacles. You'll allow whatever you want to allow to get into your way, and you'll make whatever excuse that you want to make. But the reality is you can be whatever you want to be. You can do whatever you want to do. You want to live in the White House someday, you can do that. I mean, people laughed when Trump ran for office, but guess what? He's up there. He did it.
Yep.
And he
calling shots.
And it's all because he understood that he could do whatever he wanted to. And he didn't let anybody get in his way. And that's why I think he smiles and waves at people as they jeer and boo him.
Look at me now.
Look at me now. You can be. So that's it. That's our message for the day, despite all the political garbage that we have to talk about, because that's what we do. You can be anything that you want to be, and you can do anything that you want to do. Take some sage advice, sage wisdom from a 6-year-old. Do anything you want to do. And one of the things that you should want to do, Jacob, some freaking push-ups.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, talk to you later.